To most Aussie enthusiasts, a Mustang GT is okay. It's a V8, it's rear-wheel drive, comes in a manual, and they drive pretty well. But they're foreign, and they're not really made for the Aussie roads. It doesn't come close to matching the power or feel of the old FPVs and HSVs. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I've just never found them all that special. But this Mustang here today could change all of that. This is Australia's very own 700 horsepower Mustang. This is the Mustang R-SPEC. The most powerful Australian vehicle ever made was, of course, the legendary HSV W1. That car made a mind-boggling 640 horsepower from its supercharged LS9 V8. Now look, we all know that the locally made Fords and Holdens are no longer here, but Ford Australia is still here with their international cars, and that includes the Mustang. And what Ford Australia has done here is they've taken a page back from FPV with this R-SPEC. Now with only 500 ever to be made in Australia, this was a collaboration between Ford Australia and Herod. Basically what they got was a standard Mustang GT from the US, brought it over here, took it to the same Broadmeadows factory plant where they built the Falcons, completely dismantled these cars, changed just about everything, and rebuilt these to become the R-SPEC. This under the bonnet still has a 5-liter Coyote V8, but this of course is supercharged and now makes a staggering 700 horsepower and just under 600 pound-foot of torque. This thing will do 0 to 100 in about 4.5 seconds, and my goodness, does this engine bay just look spot on. Another great thing with the Mustang R-SPEC is that all 500 run a 6-speed manual. There is no automatics. Now you may be wondering, why didn't Ford Australia just bring over the Mustang GT500? Well, apparently it wasn't going to make emission standards. And if I'm being honest, I reckon this is the way to do it. Bring it here, get it locally stripped down, rebuilt for Australia. This is the proper way. Now all of these R-SPECs receive a unique Herod exhaust system, so take a listen. Oh, now driving this Mustang R-SPEC. Well, this is without a doubt one of the most insane Mustangs I've ever driven, and borderlining one of the most insane cars we have probably had on the channel. You know, look, 522 kilowatts, that is 700 horsepower from factory with a 5-year warranty from Ford. So I don't know how much better that can really get, especially the fact that you are able to track this thing. It's an unlimited K warranty, and it only cost $100 grand. So my goodness, you know, this is quite the package. I have stated before on other Mustangs I've reviewed that they do handle quite well. They just lack that little bit of oomph and specialness. And this one, my goodness, you know, you drop down a gear in this thing, put your foot into her, oh my goodness, and she awakens, let me tell you. Oh my goodness. And the noise out of this Herod exhaust, it is one of the best sounding cars I think I've had on the channel. It's not obnoxious, it's not droney, but my goodness, when you lay into it, this thing barks. Now, just before we continue with this Mustang R-SPEC, please go ahead and make sure you hit that big red subscribe button and click the bell notification so you get updated on all our weekly uploads. My goodness. Hit that red subscribe button, guys. Now, all of these R-SPECs do get upgraded suspension, so they are tuned for Australia. They've got the MagnaRide in here still, so you can go through your adjustments, normal mode, Sport Plus, track. And man, I gotta say, this thing soaks the road up really well. And you get into a corner and it just gives you so much confidence. It really does. Now, this has got the upgraded 20-inch wheels. From factory, this thing would have had 19s, but I gotta say, look at the wheels. The brakes is also being upgraded, so you get better rotors. And my goodness, you see this thing, you know this is a serious car just from looking at the wheels on this thing. It is absolutely beautiful, the craftsmanship of these wheels and brakes. They really do just look spot on. Now, on the used market, these R-SPECs have held their value very well. As you can imagine, this is a limited run car, and you know, look, this thing is still chasing between that $110,000 and $120,000 now. So it's actually made you money. You know, look, the $100,000 price point from new was before on-road. So look, by the time you get your on-roads in, it's going to be around that $112,000. Chuck in a couple of upgrades, you're probably around that 120 grand mark. But look it, the value is held. And look, I don't think these are going to go down anytime soon. That being, you know, a 700 horsepower Mustang, exclusive for Australia, only 500 ever made. Man, this thing is special. And when we just chuck it back into normal mode, driving on these rougher backcountry roads, it's really livable. You know, this thing could be a perfect daily, and then you go to the track, put this thing into track mode, you have a monster on your hands. Look, you know, the practicality of the back seats is not great. You can't really do much with them, but they're there for an emergency, and everything else on this car really is nice. You know, the sync system here, it's a great infotainment system. You do whatever you like with it. It's got heated and cooled seats, for example. You know, it's just super livable. It really is. And you drive it in comfort mode, really doesn't even feel like it's a 700 horsepower monster because it's super easy to drive. The clutch is nice and easy, simple to change gears. The shifter feels really nice. Just a really comfortable car to sit in. This upgraded Herod wheel really makes it. You know, you feel this thing and it just fits you like a glove. You know, your fingers just fall into this thing and it is bloody perfect wheel. I gotta admit, it's a really, really nice wheel. Flat bottom. You got your green center line up on the top marker there, and it really does give you that extra kind of special feel, which you kind of want in a car like this. That is really one of the best things about the Mustang, is that it just feels so purpose-built, more towards that kind of sports car. And, you know, it just handles so well. I just love the fact that this Mustang was built in the old Broadmeadows factory where the Falcons used to get assembled, because, man, it just makes this thing feel that much more Australian. And, you know, you've got those FPV side decals to really kind of give it that inspiration. And, you know, I just pray to God Ford and other companies in Australia start doing more of this kind of car. You know, I want to see more exclusive Aussie built, Aussie upgraded exclusives, because, man, this is one sweet Mustang. Man, supercharged V8, manual, it doesn't get better than this. Oh, just giving it a punch in second. One of the most satisfying cars I think I've driven in a while. And just having another listen to this thing. And it handles so well. The brakes are excellent. The steering feel is really nice. And the suspension, it just handles these roads like you wouldn't believe. You know, this is a 2020 car, and man, this feels so well put together. It really does. Now, just quickly, a huge shout out to this week's Patreon supporters. If you guys want to join the Patreon, get early access to content, videos, merch, there is a link in the description, so check it out. 2, 1. Man alive! That supercharger does not play around. It just hooks. And these wheels, you know, it's running some of the top of the line Michelins money can buy. And this thing just grips. You could hear it just at the very instant struggle a little bit, and then boom, supercharger kicks in and it is gone. Wow. And look, that's kind of like my, you know, very early on to driving this thing. So I'm being a bit cautious as well. And this thing's pulled up 5.5 seconds to 100. So look, we're not on a perfect road. It kind of goes up and down a bit. So my goodness, if you had this at the drag strip, all day, every day, this thing's gonna pull low 4s. Man, this thing is impressive. And with that torque restriction in first and second, you know, as soon as we hit 100, this thing is only just getting started. So, my goodness, you know, if you're on the freeway, you need to overtake a road train, boy, you are going to do some wicked speeds past that truck. My goodness, you know, this thing is no joke, and it loves the big open road. Man, that is just the epitome of a beautifully done V8 muscle car manual. Like, Ford, Herod, you guys have done an absolutely spectacular job on this car. And for 100 grand, look, this has got to be one of the best bang for bucks you could have possibly got. And I think people realize that because all 500 of these sold out in less than 24 hours. Now I'm gonna finish the video off here today, so a huge thank you goes out to the owner for allowing me to take out his Mustang R-SPEC. Look, this Mustang is no joke, and I am truly proud to call this Australia's own. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If so, please remember to hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you're new here, and we'll see you on that next video.